G'day world, Chris Hogan coming to you from Me Media Studio here in Burleigh Heads for the Proactive Podcast. And today I have with me Dan Willis, CEO and founder of Claxon Agency, another agency owner, and well, we're going to get into what agency life is like in the current day and age and scaling up. So welcome, Dan. Thanks very much.
Chris.
Mate, we've known each other probably all of 3 months. Funnily enough, I think we've both been around for a long time, and glad to get to know you. And I guess that's where this podcast came from after a lovely lunch.
Yes.
So, mate, agency life at the moment with AI, with inflation, COGS going up, pressures from the market to, I guess, push down prices left, right, and centre. Where do you think we are at in agency land, and what are the major challenges that we're going to need to overcome in order to survive/thrive?
Mate, firstly, appreciate you having me on off the back of that awesome lunch that we did have. I think it's a really interesting time to be an agency owner for a few different reasons. I think that there's the pressure of shrinking budgets, which I'll sort of mention in a moment, but also the rise of AI. So I think there's two aspects of pressure right now. I think the first one is it's undoubtedly tough to be an agency right now. And whether that is a small independent agency or a bigger independent agency or even a holdco, it's tough. Right now, selling time for money is a challenging business model to be in within a challenging industry. And you know, I think I know more agencies that have gone out of business in the past couple of years than the previous sort of 7 years that I've been in this industry. And I think there's a few reasons for that. But you know, one of the big driving forces is agency budgets, or you know, marketing budgets in general, are shrinking. You know, we went to an industry conference probably about 3 months ago. And some of the data, and obviously, you know, different people have different data points, but some of the data was that current marketing and advertising budgets are around 30 to 40% of what they were 2 years ago. And the challenge with that is that exec teams and CEOs and boards, they're still demanding the same performance or year-on-year growth, but from a significantly smaller budget. And what that does for agency partners like ourselves is it means that we're doing more work for less money. And you know, agencies are notorious for over-servicing clients. But what happens is when you have a trend of, you know, a lot of clients sort of wanting more work for less money, it squeezes margin, and agencies sort of turn off the lights, which has been super sad to see. But I've seen it with like really small agencies and some really well-known agencies as well. So I think that's probably the first thing that's challenging.
Yeah, I would tend to agree. And I think there's also obviously the rise of AI, right? We've seen that it has helped improve productivity for anybody who's in the know of how to use it properly. Obviously, there has been plenty of hallucinations going on with various LLMs, and the content that's being produced can be really questionable at times, and sometimes it's wow, you know. So I think we've been lulled into a bit of a false sense of security, like everybody, around how great AI is and how much money it's going to save us in terms of actually having to, you know, in terms of allowing us to decrease humans in our business, whether that's internally, whether that's externally with agencies. So currently not feeling that confident about AI. There's plenty of reasons to use it. For example, setting up agents and automating systems and all of those types of things. Conversational AI on e-commerce can be really great, albeit it certainly wigs out at times too. So, you know, there's been plenty of cases where conversational AI has made promises to people that the business couldn't keep, and they've been put in lots of trouble for that. So, you know, the AI side of things is I guess going to get better. It only has gotten better. But to what extent are we going to trust it, and what extent are we going to remove humans from I guess the system? You know, I can't see us removing humans altogether, but I do see a decrease in it. And to some of the conversations we've had, maybe the skill sets in the business and in marketing are going to have to change to be far more analytical than maybe even creative, which I say that, and I really hope it doesn't come true, because trusting AI with creative is also pretty crap right now. Like, inconsistent, original ideas, forget about it. I'm not seeing a lot of original ideas coming out of there. It's regurgitated stuff from what it's learned, right? So the human is still supreme at the moment.
I think there's a lot of stuff to unpack in what you said. Some of it at a more fucking existential level around sort of machines replacing humans. But I think it's a really incredibly exciting time to be alive. I think for a lot of people it's a bit scary. My view on it is maybe slightly different. If we're sort of talking from an overall kind of humanity level, I think we are so far away from some of the things that people sort of fear from AI. I don't believe that a lot of the stuff that people are sort of fearful of will be in play at least for the next sort of like 10 or 15 years. But if we sort of bring it back to an industry level, we've been massive supporters of AI from day one. My personal view is that AI will not replace agencies, but agencies who use AI will replace agencies.
Exactly.
And I see it, and we see it sort of as a company ourselves, really as a tool, and no different from a Photoshop or an InDesign from a creative perspective. It's a tool that allows us to create cool work more efficiently and with more effectiveness than the way that it's sort of always been done. So we were winning fully creative AI campaigns 2 years ago, which is a long time ago sort of in the world of AI. And if I look at the work that we've done, you're talking about not a lot of original ideas. You're absolutely right, but I don't think that's not my view on how AI should be used. It's the humans, and it almost makes what the humans do more important. It's the ideas and the ideation that the humans should be doing, and then the application of that idea that AI can do. And what it's allowed us to do is really democratize expensive campaign budgets and allow us to create and build campaigns that would have cost, 80, 100, 150,000. It's allowed us to do it and for the client to pay 20,000 or 30,000. So it's really leveled the playing field. And I think that if agencies embrace AI and use it for doing a couple of things. One, I think it can improve some efficiency and automation within the business just to remove some of the laborious tasks.
100%.
I think that with the right mindset, it can really help from a creative perspective, not come up with the ideas, but create like great applications of those ideas far better than traditional tools could do. So I'm all for it. I'm not fearful of it, and I say fucking bring it on.
Beautiful. Yeah, I'd say I'm not fearful of it either now. I definitely had my wobbles this year, and It was, I think AI really flipped the table on marketing for the first 6 months of this year. It accelerated like nobody's business. And in fact, a very famous marketer called Rand Fishkin came up with the term, zero-click marketing, and that was that we're not actually seeing traffic flow like it used to, to websites and so, and then we're also not seeing it at all. Like, where did it go? For a period of time there, and so there's the challenge with attribution in the digital marketing space. Is like, well, it's been a challenge for a long time, but there was a time there that we knew where all the traffic was coming from in digital space, and was fantastic, and that's what sold digital against any other traditional offline media, right? And now it's like, well, attribution's out the window. What do we go back to? And it's funny. You just go back to good old fashioned, right, brand lift. Like, where are we seeing brand lift? Geographically and sales. Like, where are we seeing sales geographically as well? So it's, can we track QR codes? Yes, but how much is that actually? How many people are actually scanning the QR codes? So there's all of these.
Not very fucking many.
That's exactly right.
That's always the answer to that question about QR codes. Hardly anybody.
So exactly. So it's a really interesting time, I think, for attribution. Rand Fishkin again says it's dead. No, he said it dead. I tend to agree with him. But yeah, to your point, it's not meant to replace humans. It's meant to augment us and help us with productivity. And yeah, we hopefully then, if it's helping us with productivity, it's giving us more time to be creative.
That's right.
More time to actually experience what it's like to be a consumer or a business that's buying the other services. More time for us to be empathetic. And then potentially, with that experience, we create better campaigns.
Yeah, I think it can help take what a human does and just help bring it to life better than traditional tools. And I think that's a positive thing for clients and for agencies.
There's certainly hearing different things from different industries. The film industry, for example, there's lots of mock-ups being created and storyboards being created using AI. Mm-hmm. Then that storyboard comes to, shoot location, and it's like, yeah, what you're asking for there is not achievable in a one-day shoot. For example, the example I was given this morning was, okay, we want to zoom in from, 100 clicks away, come across the land or the ocean, come right in on a drink, on a bottle, a beer, sitting on a table with the sunset like shining through the bottle, and someone picks it up and drinks it, and happy days, right? And it's like, yeah, you've only got one sunset every day. Do you want to come back every day until we get that right?
But see, this is an interesting point where my mind goes to, why not create that entire campaign in AI with no restriction on sunsets? Why not do that? Or why not do a hybrid campaign of the first part of that with AI and then the person with the drink? Film that live, I think,
yeah. Well, I would go there too, except that I personally will, if I can tell it's AI, and it's pushed back, I'm just going, that's not real. Like, I know you're trying to sell the dream here, but I was listening to fake music. Someone told me about fake music on Spotify, and I'm listening to this album of fake music, and it's all of these covers, created in 1950s style jazz of Black Hole Sun and Pearl Jam's Best and you name it, right? And I'm just like, I can't get into this. I cannot get into this. Who is this singing? Who is it? Right? So I actually went, screw that. I just went, I can't say it, but I told Apple to get off Spotify. I told Apple to play me some James Brown. And there I am, like getting into James Brown.
See, I think share those fucking playlists with me on Spotify. That's what I think. I think share those playlists with me. I'd be curious to listen, because I think, you know, the thing about it's AI. If we think about just advertising, but especially movies, there's not many movies that don't. See, for me, people seem to be, fuck, that's AI, but that's cool, it's CGI, we're all used to that. To me, I go, well, what's the fucking difference? So if I saw an ad and it was, you know, rushing over an ocean, like in between, like right up to somebody having a drink, I would immediately think that, you know, the production company didn't charter a plane and fucking drive it halfway across the earth. So I would be like, well, cool, that's clearly been, you know, done, you know, not in a real sort of sense. So for me, whether that's AI, whether that's not, I'm here for it. I think everybody's just trying to find their way and figure it out. And, you know, Coca-Cola did a super cool commercial that was all AI, and I fucking loved it. I thought it was really cool. Again, for me, I just see it as a tool to do cool stuff. And I don't see creatives shunning Photoshop and InDesign saying, well, that's not really being a creative and wanting to draw everything on a sketch pad. They're all about it. They're all about Photoshop and InDesign because it makes what they do more efficient and more effective. And I think that AI is the same.
Yeah. I can't really grasp why I don't like it. Is it just my sense of adventure and love of outdoors and nature? Like, is it just me? And I think that's right. I think just everybody's different and everybody will like certain things differently. You know, and so, yes, we're using AI here too, absolutely. And, you know, the productivity really does help. I guess I'm just seeing both camps or lots of different camps happening and different opinions happening. And so in that regard, like, it comes down to your audience and who your audience actually is, and are they going to be the ones that push back on it? And if that's the case, like, can you actually define that or know that before you go to campaign? Like, is that even possible? Without running a focus group and a large one at that. So, or do we just go ham and see how it goes and test the market and see if it resonates or not?
I think it's coming either way. So to me, it's kind of a bit of a get on board moment or die or just be left behind. And I think the interesting thing is that these days, anytime there's something on the internet that's a bit wild, people's first response is, well, fuck, that must be AI. And I find that really interesting, and that's even with non-AI stuff.
Yeah, I know.
So for me, if people are, I think if you did something that was a really cool ad or a really cool campaign, and you decide not to use any AI, but it was super cool, people are going to assume it's AI anyway. So if AI lets you do it more efficiently and for a much lower budget for the client,
so why not? So do you think then, if everyone's going to assume it's AI, and they either trust you or don't based on their like or dislike of AI, then do it anyway?
That's my view. I think people that have sort of these existential fears around AI, none of that's advertising related. I think it's just more of it is sort of confronting for some people around, humanity and everybody's seen Terminator and is this what's happening and are we losing, like, you know, you mentioned the outdoors, right? Like, is life changing at such a rate? You know, is it changing faster than we want? I think that a lot of those sort of more existential questions are what makes people a little bit hesitant around AI. I've never met anybody that, you know, loves AI and is all for it but hates AI-based advertising. It's kind of like a blanket. People either are for AI or they're not. And so that's why...
Well, you just met one, because I'm actually in both camps.
Really? So is that you are not that supportive of AI in general but are supportive of AI advertising, or is it the reverse?
I'm supportive of AI helping with productivity. I'm supportive of AI helping with concept and campaign production within reason, because I want to make it believable. I want to make it as authentic as possible. And when I see fake ads, AI generated ads, I lose trust. And so I don't want that to happen to the brands that I manage. Know me, like me, trust me, right? Know me? Yeah. Look at all these crazy ass AI videos that they're putting out. Wow. Like me? Yeah, they're pretty cool. Trust you? Don't know.
You know what I say to that? The creative AI, the output needs to be better, because I think with great creative, you shouldn't even be able to tell.
That's where it's going.
That's my view. I think that when, you know, people still need to do the great thinking and the great ideas behind it, and to me, if people are putting out really low quality stuff, and I get that people are doing it because people are just finding their way, then, you know, I think the output just needs to be better, because as we both know, AI is not going to do it for you. That's the one thing. You need humans to do the thinking, but you still need humans. Like, if we do a campaign, we're not charging like $2,000 for that campaign because it takes 5 minutes. It takes a really fucking long time. It doesn't take as long or cost as much as if it's a full scale production, but it still takes a lot of time. There's certainly no just putting in a prompt and it spits out a campaign. So for me, humans are just as important in the process as ever. Their role is just slightly changing. That's what I think.
So you're absolutely right. Humans are still integrated into the whole scenario. It's likely going to get to the point where we're not going to be able to tell the difference between real and what's not. In some cases, you can't now.
Correct. I reckon we're already there. For the ones that are doing it well, we're already there.
There's some scary stuff happening where, you know, avatars are being created and people are turning up on Zoom meetings to actually be the only real person in the Zoom meeting, because the avatars, the people that they're seeing and the people that they're hearing have been cloned. Real life story. Just heard it.
Send me that link. If I could get a clone of me to attend half of my meetings, I'd be a happy guy. So again, I'm fucking all for it.
You won't know it though. You won't know it unless you read the transcript, and you won't.
It's okay. You know. I'll have my clone of me attend my meeting, send me the transcript, I'll review it. I'm all about it.
But the problem with that is that, like, hacking and phishing have gone rife, right? But, you know, this podcast actually could be clones of us, right? And many of podcasts actually are now.
Mate, there's some great podcasts that I've seen with two dogs having a really fucking great conversation. It's wild, mate. That's, again, I'm all for it. I look at that and I think, how fucking cool is that? What a wild time to be alive.
I agree.
And I think it's a bit like kind of the .com era. AI's here, it's coming. It's coming either way, and I think that the people that are resistant to it now, that's okay, and like I totally understand the people that are, but I think that they're just going to be playing, massive catch up in a few years' time. So for me, I'd rather sort of sit comfortably on the surfboard, on the wave, and just sort of come in with kind of that cultural shift and change, rather than still be out the back and have to doggy paddle my way into shore in a couple of years' time.
Yeah, good chat. So let's get off that topic. I think it's everywhere right now, but it's really good that two agency owners are actually talking about this from our perspective and what's happening in the marketplace, and that people still need people. So thank God for that.
People still need people. For me, I think it's great. It allows people to spend more time doing the stuff that they're special at.
Yeah.
And get the opportunity to get rid of some of the laborious tasks. So for me, that's a win for people as well,
We spoke at our lunch about your history of scaling businesses, and it was fascinating to hear, your life before agency life. Personally, I haven't really had one. I've had mostly agency life, and so it kind of, I don't know, it's really great to hear other people's life stories and journeys. How important are people in scaling up? In terms of, you can take that how you like, actually. I might just leave it open.
That's a very open question.
Yeah.
I think the first thing is, at a fundamental level, a company's not a real thing. A company is only a group of people.
That's basically what it means, isn't it? We're in company.
That's it. If it's the wrong people, then business is hard enough. Business is war. Business is always war. I don't care whether you're just starting out as a solopreneur or whether you're running, a $1 billion company. Business is always war. All that really changes is zeros on a sheet, whether it's zeros in a bank account, zeros from a revenue perspective, number of staff, but it's all the same. I think people are critically important. And interestingly, sort of talking about scaling companies, one of the things that I think catches people out is the people and the mindset of those people that you need to get out of startup phase is a different mindset and way of thinking, and different people that you need to be successful in the scale-up phase. But at a fundamental level, no company is anything without the right people.
I don't want to bring AI into this conversation, but I would agree. The culture that you form is extremely important, and the players that you have on your team, in startup land, like you say, you can survive on different types of players. Scale up, you've got to have A players. B players at worst.
It's a different world, and I think that's what catches a lot of companies out. For me, I'm 47. I have been in advertising for coming up to 9 years, but prior to that, in finance and medical devices and fashion, I'm still trying to figure out what the fuck I want to be when I grow up. I have no idea, but I enjoy building and scaling companies, and I've been fortunate enough to be okay at that in my career, and have run companies, tiny. I've run my own businesses where it's just myself and one other person, and I've run companies with 500 staff, and I've taken businesses on that journey sort of everywhere in between. And I think that what catches a lot of businesses out is, it's a hard journey to get through startup phase. but you can generally get to the end of startup, and I'll quantify the end of sort of startup. It usually sits, there's always exceptions, but it usually sits at around about 10 mil-ish of revenue and around about 25-ish people. That's kind of at the end of startup. You've got proven product market fit. By that stage, you know, take out your super fast growth sort of tech startups that pre-revenue, raise a shitload of money and they've suddenly got 100 staff. Take out those ones. If you just sort of focus on the ones that have started from maybe, you know, 1 or 2 or 3 sort of co-founders and build up organically. Generally, when you get to the end of that startup phase, you know, you're 3 to 5 years old on average, so you know what you're doing and you've been able to get there on enthusiasm, great people, a lot of fucking hustle and a lot of relentlessness. But those traits are, you know, still really important to have, but they're not enough to get you to 50 people. They're not enough to get you to 100 people. The business at a fundamental level needs to change to go on that journey.
And so is there a title for that change? Is it strategy? Is it systems? Is it cash flow? Is it sales?
It's a few things, and it probably starts with whoever is running the business. Their mindset needs to change, and it's one of the reasons why companies can be 10 or 15 years old and still locked around that same size. And what happens is companies will go from 25-ish people, they'll go up to, you know, 30, 32, and then they'll lose a few people and slide back down. And it's like kind of trying to climb up this slippery slope. You can get a few steps up and then you keep sort of sliding back down if the mindset of the person really driving the business doesn't change. And that can be one of the hardest things, because often that person is the founder. So what smart founders do around that size is they need to start bringing in people who think a bit differently, who aren't that work harder, late nights, do whatever it takes. They're more the work smarter mindset. And the two don't have to be mutually exclusive. You can have people that think more structurally and are still hustlers as well. But what needs to happen is it becomes less of a focus on people doing cool things to strategy, systems, operating rhythm, systems. You need a structure, and the way I sort of liken it is if you're building your own house and you didn't know, you weren't a builder, you had no idea what the fuck you were doing, you could go out there, you could buy some 4x2 and you could buy some gyprock and you could bang up something and put a roof on, and if it was one story, you would pretty much be okay. And that's sort of like getting through the end of startup. But if you wanted to go into scale up, if you're like, I want to put a second story on my house or a third story on my house, or I reckon I can take this to 5 stories, the second you start building on that first level, it's going to topple over. So what you really need to do is go back and make sure that the foundation is level, bring somebody in to strengthen the foundation, strengthen the walls, and then you can start building from there. So that strategy, systems, operating rhythm, processes are what's needed. You need structure within the business, and then you have exceptional people to do exceptional things within that structure. But without the structure, you never get past kind of putting a few walls up on the second story before it tumbles down again, and it's just this never-ending cycle. And one of the hard things is founders often equate that to selling out, becoming too corporate. This is not the entrepreneur hustle life, but that's not true.
That's not true. No.
It's not true at all. But a lot of them think, well, too many systems. I don't want to have an operating rhythm. I don't want to have all these processes in place. That stifles what makes us us. And it's not true. It provides a strong foundation for growth. So, for me, outside of Claxon, one of the things I do is I work with founders and boards to help scale businesses. And it's literally that. It's a different application across different industries, but it's the same thing.
Is there one metric, first thing, that you see or need to know about a business? It might not be one, right? It's really hard to pinpoint one thing that tells you that a business is ready to scale or not.
It's more to do with the size. It's more to do with the size, about that revenue. You can't do $500,000 a year and have 2 people and go, right, I'm ready to go into scale up. You've still got a long way to go into startup.
Yes.
So putting those things in place too early can be a bit clunky. I think it's more so, where is a company at in terms of revenue? Where are they at in terms of size? And really importantly, what is the appetite for the founder for growth? Because a lot of founders also fall into the trap of thinking bigger is better. And if I scale, it'll mean that people think I'm more successful. And scaling is hard. Scaling sucks cash. And it's really hard, even when done the right way. So I think for a lot of founders, if they're at that 10 mil size, 25-ish odd people, if they don't want to grow any further past that, that's okay. And then it's about how to optimize their business for really maximum profitability at that size, and there's different ways to do that as well.
Of course. Daniel Priestley put it to me. I'm not sure if you know who he is. He's well, there he is. I knew I'd have his book here somewhere. That was his first book, Key Person of Influence. Several books, and he's been quite a successful entrepreneur in his own right, not just an author. I believe he had a bit of math. I've done his program, and he was saying about you're ready to scale based on revenue per full-time employee equivalent, right? So it was somewhere in the vicinity of, if you're doing 150K per full-time equivalent in revenue, then that could equal scaling depending on your profitability. But it was somewhere between 150 and 200K. It's likely that you're ready to hire and start scaling. I liked that as a simplified formula, right? It's like, okay, we're doing, 100, just for argument's sake, we're doing 100 per full-time equivalent. No way, no how, we're like break even, 120, nah, still too risky. Work harder, work smarter. 150, okay, maybe we could go for it now and start hiring, albeit 200 is far more, likely to have the cash supply to be able to fund that scaling. What would you think about that math?
So I'm going to be controversial.
Good.
And say I don't believe in metrics like that, because my argument to that, and this is the first time I've heard that, my argument is a couple of things. One, what if you are 150 grand and you have 4 employees doing 150, grand, full-time equivalent. Yep. You're doing 600 grand. Does that mean you're ready for scale? I say absolutely not. What if you've got employees and doing 200 grand? Well, it depends what industry you're in, because if the average cost of your employee is, if you're paying them 200 grand, then you're going to be going nowhere, even at 200 grand per full-time employee.
Of course.
Whether you've got 5 employees or 20 employees. So I appreciate, what he sounds like he's trying to do, which is give some sort of metric around it. But I think that's probably too simplistic to think of it like that. It really, in my view, is that size of when you're around 20 or 25 employees, or when you're doing around about 10 mil of revenue. It means that you've got a business that works, you've been in business for more than 2 sort of seconds, and that's the right sort of size foundation to go from. There are exceptions. Great business people can start scaling earlier. Some people that aren't quite as experienced, it can take a bit longer before they're truly ready. But that 25-ish people, 10 mil, that's the best sort of way of gauging that I've come from. Now, I don't want to confuse scaling up with growth, because they're 2 different things. Because, going from 5 to 10 people, that's growth.
Yeah.
10 to 15 people is growth. 15 to 20, that's growth. But what's required to go from 25 to 50 is a fundamental change in the business, and that's where things have to start to change.
Yeah, because if everyone thought that they weren't going to be able to grow instead of scale, I guess there's good definitions there, until they reach 10 million, then that's going to be very few businesses in Australia, because of, something really low number of percentage, single digit percentage of businesses in Australia actually achieve 10 mil.
Oh yeah, it would be ridiculously low.
Yeah.
And I see that, and to me that's sort of part of the whole entrepreneur hustle culture, which I actually am anti that hustle culture for various sort of reasons. I'm happy to share if you want, but otherwise.
Well, define hustle culture. What do you think? What do you mean by that?
I think, so for me, hustle culture is you have to work 1 billion hours and sacrifice your whole life. And how hard you work and your input, that is a sign of success. So in hustle culture,
yes,
you quantify your success by how hard you're working, the sacrifice you're making, but those metrics are irrelevant, because if you are working 20-hour days, you're never seeing your family, it's putting a strain on your relationship, you're not seeing your kids grow up, things are rocky with your husband or with your wife, and your business, there's no output, then I think that people, and I've got friends that have done this over the years, and the output's almost irrelevant to them. It's the medals they put on themselves, or other people kind of hang on them, aren't because the business has become a successful business that generates revenue, generates profit, generates an income for their family. The medal is kind of adorned on them because they've sacrificed so much. And I don't believe in that. For me, I think that what's important is output, not input. And if you are working 5 hours a week, but you're building a successful business that's providing for you and your family and is something tangible with real money, then to
Profit.
me, that person, correct, that person is far more successful than somebody literally killing themselves, putting themselves in hospital from stress for not much out the other side. So I think with that in mind, to me, I always delineate between my view on who's an entrepreneur and who's a business person. And I think there's a difference. And to me, entrepreneurs are mainly focused on input, whereas business people are mainly focused on output. So I've always never identified as an entrepreneur, even though I have my own business and I've had businesses, I've never identified with that term.
I can't say that I have either, and that I've had to learn the hard way and the slow way in becoming a better businessman. And despite the challenges, I absolutely still love it. And that dumbfounds me. It's like, this is the hardest game. Like, this is war, right?
Always war.
And why do I, when I'm getting killed on the battlefield, 1 week out of, 20, like how do I come back the next week and actually go, yeah, right, let's go. Right.
Let's be honest, it's 18 weeks out of 20.
Right, yeah.
But for everybody, and that's the thing that I think that people forget, is they see this, all this shit on social media.
Yeah.
But a lot of my friends, most of them own businesses. It is war all the time. Across any industry, across any size business, it doesn't matter. And anybody that says it's not is full of shit.
Yeah.
Business is always tough. Always.
And so, how do you stay positive and stay on top of, I guess, the stress that comes with business? What's your daily practice? What's your weekly practice? What's your life look like in order to be proactive?
So I think, so for me it's a blend between how I've sort of learnt to think over the years and the daily practices. So I'll be awake at 5 a.m. every morning. I'll get up, I'll go to the gym, and that classic, go to the gym just as much for my mental health as my physical health is really true and really important. Helps me with sort of stress management. I used to struggle a lot with managing stress when I was younger. And I guess what I learned, and I think this is more so just a getting older sort of thing, I kind of realized and looked back that a lot of the things that seemed so critically important at the time and was such a cause of like deep levels of stress never really mattered. So it was a bit of a perspective shift as I turned 40 that, you hear people say, well, we're not saving lives. And it's easy as a throwaway line, but for me that kind of really hit home. And I realized that I'm not saving lives. I'm out there helping people do cool stuff in their business, whether it's through advertising or whatever it is. And I remember somebody asked me one day, they were like, has it been a bit of a stressful period? And I was like, yeah, fuck, it's always a stressful period. And they said to me, can you think back 6 months in the past and tell me the 2 key things that were the most stressful at the time? And I couldn't remember what they were specifically, because he was like, I want specifics. And I couldn't remember, and it was at that moment.
As in 6 months ago?
6 months ago.
Yeah.
6 months ago.
Yeah.
What was it?
Yeah.
And I remember I gave some sort of like general answer, and he was like, no, like specifically. And I remember I sat there for a couple of minutes, and I'm just like, fuck, I can't actually remember. And it was that sort of moment that was a bit of a shift in perspective for me, where I was like, okay, does any of it really matter? And I don't think it does. So for me, I used to feel that this was my life and this was the business. And, my life and everything about me and who I was and what I did was consumed by the business. And my perspective now is that this is the business but this is who I am in my life. And the business is a small part of that, but it's not my family. It's not exceptional experiences with loved ones. So I've just learned to go, you know what, fuck, that's really shitty that's happened, and business is always war, but it just doesn't affect me as much these days. Sometimes it does, because I'm also human. But for the most part, I just go, you know what, it's really not that important, and that just takes a lot of the stress away.
Yeah. Interestingly, similar ride with the age thing, except when I got to 40. So yeah, couldn't handle stress as well when I was younger. Bit of a worrywart as a term, kind of like genetic. My dad.
Same as me.
Yeah, dad was a worrier.
Yeah.
And learnt through those times that, you know, when I was losing sleep and worrying, and I was like, hang on a minute, you know, there's nothing I can do about it now. I'm tired, you know, stressed out at 10:30 at night or 11 p.m. at night. There's nothing I can do about this. All I need is sleep, because unless I get that sleep, I'm going to be no good tomorrow. So I was like, I got through that worry period doing that, and eventually stopped worrying. And didn't even know about anxiety until one day when the business was basically going to go to shit, and that's quite a public story in my book. But that was the first time I experienced anxiety, and then it was like, wait, hang on a minute, how do you get past that? What is anxiety? It's fear of the unknown, pretty much. Things are out of your control. Business is out of control, life's out of control, whatever it is, right? And so then I worked on that. Well, what is it that I need to get under control? And obviously we can only control ourselves, and everything else is indifferent, right? We need to, and the cash flow forecasting was actually an amazing thing. The exercise was an amazing thing. Breath work, ice baths, you know, hiking in nature. All of these things became daily or weekly practices, and yeah, I always used to watch people our age, we're the same age, like all of a sudden going to the gym more, and I'm watching successful business owners like, right, like you're doing a lot more exercise, and it's like you're jacked, like what's with that? Is that just the midlife crisis? And it's like, no, hang on a minute, that is a proactive energy management.
I learned something sort of when I turned 40. Previously in my career, during stressful periods, a stressful, really tough time like in the business, because for the past almost 20 years I've been running companies. So even if it hasn't been my own company, I've still been responsible, the one responsible. And prior to sort of turning 40, my ethos was, if stuff is really hard at the moment, do longer hours and work harder. And then when I got to 40, I changed that. And now, during times of like real fucking war, like a real tough time in the business, I will work less. I will cut my days shorter, sometimes down to as much as 4 hours a day. And I will go to the gym twice a day. I will go for a walk along the beach every day. I will go out and I'll play golf once a week. And it's not because, oh fuck, you know, it's a really challenging time, I don't care. It's the opposite, because that proactive energy management allows me to be rested and fucking sharp. And when you're at war, and when times are really challenging within business, if you're the one running the business and you are exhausted because you've been working yourself into the fucking ground, you're going to make poor choices. And that helps nobody. But if you're rested, if you're refreshed, and it's a focus on making great choices within the business, then I believe that's what is going to make you a more effective leader during those times of peak stress.
Could not agree more. And done the same. Like, blows me away that is actually the right thing to do, like from experience, you know.
Well, it sounds so counterintuitive, right? Like I've had so many friends over the years say to me, like, what are you doing? And I'm like, fuck, business is really tough right now. And they all say the same thing. Then why aren't you at the office? Like, why aren't you, what are you doing here? Why are you going for a walk? And I'm like, because it helps me make better choices. It helps me navigate us out of the situation way more effectively.
Well, the science is out there too on walking, just for the brain and how it lights up the brain, you know, fMRIs, you know, all that sort of stuff. It's fascinating. And something else I heard also was, you know, like, it's all well and good to adopt music and podcasts and watching a television show or a Netflix series or whatever, but in those times it's not time for that. It really isn't. It's time for silence as much as you can get it. You have to process those thoughts and get those podcasts, get those earbuds out of your ears. And look, if you need to talk to someone. Actually, like, journaling, far out, like, amazing. You know, get it out of your head sometimes too. You know, being trapped in your own mindset is terrible. And that's where I've actually made some of the worst decisions in business, is like, had these thoughts that have, that's the right way to do this. Hadn't actually communicated with others about what I was planning on doing, and then all of a sudden it ended up being the wrong decision. You know, so it's interesting about the whole, we need time out, we need silence. And yeah, the walking, the exercise is a great way to do that. And minus the music as well.
I go for a walk almost every day, not every day, but I try to kind of get in 10,000-ish steps. Never, ever, ever wear earphones. For me, that's time to think, be present, let my mind do its thing. With silence, a lot of people are fearful of silence, but, you know, silence, you know, or lack of input gives your brain the ability to solve a lot of problems. And it's kind of like, you know, I liken it to fasting. The whole thing around fasting is it gives your body a break from digesting food to allow it to divert its energy to fixing your body, right? That's the whole kind of thing behind fasting and doing like long sort of like water fasts or juice fasts or whatever. I think that if people weren't so fearful around having a quiet brain, a lot of the stuff will just get that fixed. Like, if I'm going for a walk, I'll often be half thinking about, you know, 20 different things, but really nothing at the same time. And then suddenly something that's been a challenge for the day or for the hour or for the week or for the month, suddenly my brain just goes, oh, hold on, this is what you do. And it's like, great. And if my brain had have been preoccupied by listening to, you know, a podcast or music, it wouldn't have had the time to work on the shit that it needed to work on.
Who's your sounding board after that? Do you have a sounding board for that idea first before you go and implement it? Like, you go, oh, there it is.
So it is absolutely my fiance, Jade, who is also in the business with me within Claxon, but she also does some advisory work with me outside of Claxon, again, sort of helping companies navigate that startup into scale up. She's way fucking smarter than me. I wish I was half as switched on as her at her age. She's quite a bit younger. She's 32. So she is my ride or die sounding board to run stuff past. I always, though, like to, if it's a big choice, I will always go to trusted friends or trusted advisors and share with them what I'm thinking. That doesn't mean I'll do what they're suggesting, but I'm a fan of kind of getting as much information or as many viewpoints as possible, because it is dangerous to get trapped in our own mind. Sometimes that can work out really well for us. Other times it can be a complete fucking disaster. So I'd rather always err on the side of caution and at least have a few people that I know and trust in their opinion to consider, and then make what I believe is the best choice from that. But the first person and the last person would always be Jade.
Yeah. It's funny about opinions. I've adopted the same mindset, and I think that's attributed to my experience with Australian Institute of Company Directors, where I'm around directors all the time talking about, their roles as chair and all the rest of it, and what it means to act like a good chair, and how opinions matter and perspectives matter. That doesn't mean that you take them, all on board and do everything that everyone says. It's kind of like, and then I've attributed to testing the market. It's like, oh, here's my go-to-market strategy. You guys are my little focus group. I'm going to test you. And then go, well, how did that go? How did that turn out? Oh, I didn't think about that.
Well, I'm a massive supporter of companies having boards, having advisory boards.
Yeah.
A massive supporter of this. I think that you're never, ever, ever too small to have an advisory board. I appointed Claxon's advisory board of 3 external people that joined 3 of us internally. So there were 6 in total. So we had a advisory board of 6 in total when we had 4 staff. That was it. But they were there, and they weren't industry people. They were there to provide guidance, an external viewpoint, and support around key choices to enable us to grow more effectively. So, it's people often, they'll go out and they'll get a business coach, and I fucking hate that. I hate the whole business coach thing.
Tells you how you really feel, there.
Because it's like they're paying somebody $1,000 or a couple of grand a month. Often business coaches have gone and done a course on business coaching, and they'll go and they will sort of work with businesses, take them through this tick box sort of method, whatever the method of the company that they did the training for is. And I personally believe it's a waste of money. I think that if more founders thought about appointing an advisory board, 2 to 3 people, most people that are experienced enough to be on a board will generally be at the stage in their career where they want to be able to give back, and they want to be able to help other aspiring business people on their journey. So for founders, there's no shortage of experienced people who have had a lot of real life success that would be willing to sit on an advisory board. And it's easy, get together 3 people. They don't have to have experience in your industry. They don't have to. And meet with them once every couple of months, and they will help you get to where you need to go to way faster. And 95% of people will sit on an advisory board for free. so it doesn't cost the founder. And it kind of, this all ties back to your point of not being stuck in our own heads, you know, as a founder and as a business person, seeking external advice, but seeking the right type of external advice. An advisory board is an amazing way to do that.
Mate, I think I want to end on that because you nailed a question that I had, and that was the opinion about coaches. And I think you really got the answer for me and a lot of people. Thanks so much, Dan. It was a great chat. It was the first, I hope, of many. I think the agencies not being competitors and being rivals and actually coming together at this time, and you know, which is a crazy time, I think, in human history to be alive, but an exciting time. I think it's going to be so much better if we do it together and voice our opinions around this versus, I think, it just coming to eat us alive and probably the negative rhetoric just taking hold that agencies aren't required anymore, and I think we still have a plenty of offer, which is I think a good thing.
I think that good humans and great agencies are even more important now than they were before AI. So agencies aren't going anywhere. But thanks for having me on, Chris. It's been a pleasure, bro.
Cheers, mate.